Start in the name of Allah, who is merciful and most beneficent. Dear students, today we are going to discuss stream of consciousness, a very important one. In literature, stream of consciousness is a method of narration that describes happening in the flow of thoughts in the character's mind. The term stream of consciousness first came about in 1890 when the philosopher and a psychologist William James used in his book The Principle of Psychology. He used to describe the natural flow of thoughts that even while the different parts are not necessarily connected to the brain, does not distinguish one study as strictly independent from the next. So, basically, a stream of consciousness is a style or technique of writing that tries to capture the natural flow of characters' extended thoughts process, often by incorporating sensory impressions, incomplete ideas, unusual syntax, and rough grammar. So, this is stream of consciousness. First of all, you have to understand what is the stream of consciousness. Then we have to discuss stream of consciousness in literature. This is another thing. So, first of all, you should know the history when it was being started and who did that one. So, we have discussed that in 1890 William have done with the principle of psychology, and he has explained the stream of consciousness. So now we are moving towards stream of consciousness in literature. So the stream of consciousness writing style is marked by the sudden rise of thoughts and lack of punctuation. The narration style is generally associated with the modern novelist and short story writer of the 20th century. Stream of consciousness is a narrative from in which the author writes to mimic or parallel characters' internal thoughts. Sometimes this device is also called internal monologue. And often the style incorporates the natural course of thoughts and feelings that occur in any of our minds at any given time. So, the stream of consciousness novel commonly uses the narrative technique of interior monologue. Probably the most famous example of James Joyce's Ulysses, 1922, a complex evocation of the inner state of the characters Leopold and Molly Bloom and Stephen Dedalus. So now we'll discuss the understanding the term stream of consciousness. So first of all, we'll discuss that stream of consciousness writing allows reader to listen in on a character's thought. Yes, this is important thing in literature when you are going to read and when you are going to catch the character's thought and inner thoughts of character. It can be written in the first person and third person. So now this is another dynamia that we are going to explain, that it can be written in first and third person. The technique often involves the use of language in unconventional ways to replicate the complicated pathways that ideas take as they unfold and move through the mind. So traditional prose writing is a highly linear idea that flows after another in a more or less logical sequence as in a line. Stream of consciousness is often non-linear in a few key ways that defines the style. It makes use of unusual syntax, grammar, associative leaps, repetition, and plot structure. So first of all, we'll discuss syntax and grammar in literature of stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness writing does not usually flow ordinary rules of grammar and syntax. So this is a very important one. This is not like the ordinary thing. This is basically a specific. So syntax and grammar in stream of consciousness is the basic part. It is because thoughts are often not fully formed, or they change course in the middle and become run-on sentence, or they are interrupted by another study. So grammar and syntax can be used to replicate this process in ways that are not grammatically, syntactically correct, but the nonetheless feels accurate. This is another thing and the important one. Second one is association. Stream of consciousness also makes use of associative thought in this writing style. Writers transition between ideas using loose connection based on a character's personal experience and memories. So we have earlier discussed that we are going to deal with the characters in internal thoughts, and the same is the thing here, that basically we are dealing with the writers, not writer but the characters. So the third one is repetition. Repeated words and phrases can act as a signposts pointing readers towards significant theme and motives. Yes, when someone is repeating something, it means something is important there. When writer is stressing upon a thing and he or she is repeating one concept again and again, it means that one concept or that particular concept is very important in that thing. So repetition is basically another important thing. So the last one is plot structure. Many writers imply a stream of consciousness and experiment with structure, incorporating multiple unreliable narratives or a non-linear plot structure. Some writers shift rapidly between different characters' perspective, allowing reader to experience various people's stream of consciousness. For example, in one chapter of his novel Sometime, A Great Notion, Ken Kesey alternate between the thoughts, emotion and impression of several characters, including a dog, using italics and different punctuation styles to indicate which character is thinking each word, phrase or sentence. Yes, in other thing we were discussing and we were basically doing with the particular thing that one character and character's inner thought, but in plot there are several characters. So it can be human, it can be non-human, it can be animal, something can be there. So with the different and dimensional characters, so thoughts will be different and as well as multi-dimensional.